I'm Sophia A. Jackson, and I'm the editor and founder of Afridiziak Theatre News. And I'm joined today by Amanda Bright, who's starring in Romeo and Juliet at the Almeida Theatre. So, first of all, in your own words, can you tell us about the character that you play? Because obviously, Romeo and Juliet is a very popular and well-known production. But yeah, if you could talk to us about your particular role.
Sure. So I play the character Lady Capulet. So she is Juliet's mother. I think there's a misunderstanding about her because she is often seen as being a villain or quite an evil, cruel character. And so I was really excited about finding a way to portray her where she was more sympathetic to the audience. You can understand the choices that she's making. So yeah, that's me defending my character, Lady Capulet, who's just misunderstood.
And what kind of research did you do?
Well, I think even though, so with this production, we haven't set it in any sort of particular time. Rebecca Frecknall, the director, really wanted it to feel timeless. However, we wanted the choices of the characters to be influenced by what was happening in Shakespeare's time. And so understanding that world was really important. So some of the things that we did was just think about the hierarchical structures of that time, the expectations of women and their role in society at that time. And that would help understand the choices that people made and why people were willing to give up everything, give up their lives to defend their family honour. So that was really useful to understand the kind of how people would think in Shakespeare's time and then apply it to a kind of modern sensibility as well and find that meeting place.
And how do you relate to your character? Are there any similarities?
I think there are some similarities between me and Lady Capulet. She is very passionate and she is striving to be the best version of herself. I think that version that she's striving to be is maybe very different to kind of a modern sensibility of what it means to be a good person. But in her mind and her belief, she is doing the best that she can for her family, for her daughter. But that might lead her to make some choices that maybe I wouldn't necessarily make. But I do understand that sense of just trying to provide and do the best and be the best version of yourself.
And are there parts of her character that you've struggled with and just are so far removed from who you are as a person?
She is fiery. She's really got a lot of fire and anger and rage.
That must be amazing to be able to play that.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, because it's so different for me. So I don't know if I struggled with that more. That I was just like, this is so much fun to play because I really don't have that kind of accessible to me normally. I just if I get angry about something, it very quickly turns into being upset. And so it's just a joy to play a character that is so different to myself because it means that it almost gives me permission to fully just immerse myself in her rage. So yeah, that was something that, that's where we're quite different in that respect, but it was fun to play around with that.
I could imagine that it does sound fun. And thinking back to when you first started reading the script to where the production is now, you've opened, what kind of challenges have you had to overcome that you can share with us, as the production as a whole?
I think in terms of first reading the script, I mean, one thing that should be noted about this, the original text, if it's performed in full, is about 3.5 hours long. It's a very long play. And immediately there was a decision to make it as streamlined as possible. And so the draft that I saw when auditioning was maybe a version that was 2.5 hours long. And then when we came to rehearsals, it was cut down a bit more. And now we have this 2-hour version of the play.
Yeah, but there's no interval. That's a struggle. Why?
I know, but it does. I mean, it's so developing the endurance to do because it's the type of play that for the actors as well, we're in it too, because once we're on stage, that's it with them. There's no exits or entrances. We can't, if we do leave the space, we're sitting at the back of the stage and then we're coming straight on. So we're with it with you as well, with the audience. And so I guess developing the endurance was something that I had to build in order to it be show ready. But in terms of like the challenges within the text itself, I think it was more because we're trying to run straight through. We're trying to honor the fact that the whole story takes place over 72 hours. It's just 3 days.
Yeah.
And so trying to find that drive as well as being clear with the story beats, really propelling forward with it. And so hopefully, yes, it is 2 hours, but hopefully it doesn't feel like you're stuck for 2 hours. It should feel that it's always driving forward.
Well, it's quite a dramatic play, so I can imagine that you've got a script from the start to finish. I'm hoping to see it, obviously, at some point. And but if the original text is 3.5 hours, does that mean you've had to make some brutal cuts then?
Yeah, there were a lot of cuts that were made, and I think I was talking to someone the other day about the way that Rebecca Frecknall works, in that she finds a way to reinvigorate and reintroduce you to a classic text. And so one of the things she decided with the cuts, we start off with this prologue, which talks about the 2 hours traffic of our stage, so that the play will be 2 hours long.
Right.
I mean, in Shakespeare's version, it was not 2 hours long at all, but she wanted to really honor that. And so that was her aim. So with that in mind, she was thinking about, we jump in right in the middle of a scene. So we get to the heart of the scene. And then once it's achieved its objective, we move on.
Oh, wow.
And so it's like, it's
fast-paced.
Very snappy. Yeah. Very snappy. Mm-hmm.
I think that's good though, because I find Shakespeare can be quite dense and then you just end up thinking about something else while you're watching it. So I don't think that will happen with this.
I hope not.
So for anyone who thinks Shakespeare isn't for them, what would you say to encourage them to see this play?
One thing I've loved about the feedback that we've had from audiences is that it's so accessible and you're immediately engaged. I think these cuts and Rebecca's approach to directing it means that the story is so clear, and the way that we're using the language, it's very clear. So you might not understand every individual word, but you'll really get the sense of what someone's saying and what's driving them forwards. My brother is actually partially deaf and has never studied Shakespeare, but he came to see it and completely understood the story and what was happening. It's very, very clear story beats, and an amazing cast who are wonderful at making the language feel accessible and understandable to the audience.
Oh, that's brilliant to hear. I think we've spoken a bit about this, but my question is also, how does this version differ to others, as Romeo and Juliet has been staged so many times? Obviously, one of them is that it's shorter than usual, and it's more accessible. But is there any other ways that it's different?
I think so. I think we have the staging is very unique in that it's basically a bare stage. Like, there is no scenery, there are no very few props. It's but the way the lighting and the sound is used, it's almost like sculpting different areas onto the stage. It's hard to explain, but it's so with the actors' performances and the way that the lighting kind of sculpts and highlights different parts of the stage, it's a really bare but densely rich, which doesn't make any sense, version of the show. It really is just about the story and the characters.
Thank you. So I know you've played in previous Shakespeare productions, but prior to being an actor, what were your thoughts on Shakespeare? Were you even a fan?
That's a really good question. I remember studying Shakespeare at school. I did Macbeth and I did King Lear. And I think I was really lucky in that I had a very good English teacher who loved the language. And so I was captivated by the stories, and then had a great teacher who was able to kind of bring them to life. We would act out, or stand and read certain bits of text to help us understand and then unpack it. But I know that I'm in a minority in that case, because for a lot of people it was just sit, read it, and then answer some questions about it and maybe not fully understand it.
Just feel like, just not engage.
It's like something that is not for you. But I think I was very lucky in that from my first interactions with Shakespeare, it was made to be as engaging and exciting as possible. Yeah, so we're very lucky in that respect.
Yeah, it's nice to hear that you've had a positive experience with Shakespeare. Finally, why should we come and see Romeo and Juliet at the Almeida Theatre?
You should come and see Romeo and Juliet because I'm in it. Also,
naturally,
naturally, because it's a stunning production. In terms of the performances, our leads, Isis and Toheeb, are just exquisite performers. The whole cast is so strong. It's a really fun, engaging, fast-paced production. It feels so modern, but yet timeless, as we were talking about before. It's just fun. It's engaging and exciting. And the movement, I haven't even talked about that, the movement, the physical theatre, the fighting, it's so visceral and dynamic, and it starts with a bang and it doesn't stop, really. It just builds and builds. So definitely come and see it.
Oh, well, it sounds fantastic. I've just got some quick fire random questions to end the interview. The first one is your favourite theatre space ever that you've worked in?
Oh, I mean, it's tough. It's between the Globe and the Almeida, to be fair.
Okay.
The Globe, because it just embraces you, that space and the acoustics. But the Almeida, just the team there have been amazing.
Oh, that's so nice.
It feels like such a community. So I'll cheat and say to the Globe and the Almeida.
I'll let you have that.
Thank you.
Your earliest memory of going to the theatre?
Oh, that was a production of A Midsummer Night's Dream at
Shakespeare
Regent's
again.
Park. Open theatre. I know, so weird.
Yeah.
When I was like 8, I think I went with the girl. I was a brownie, so we went on a kind of troupe outing, and I just remember being like, it was one of those moments like, wow, like it's just magic, pure magic. I don't think I really understood the story at that age, but I thought it was amazing.
Did it stay dry for you?
Pardon, sorry.
Was it dry?
Oh, yes, it did. It was a dry day. Yeah, I remember it being very sunny. Yeah,
because that's always the risk. It's like, oh, it's so nice to be outside until it rains. It's like,
exactly.
No. Your dream guest to see you in Romeo and Juliet that you would absolutely love to see the play, dead or alive?
Dream guest. Oh, Oprah. If Oprah,
everyone always says Oprah. What is it about Oprah?
I don't know. I feel like it's just almost like that presidential seal. Like, because I was like Beyonce.
Yeah, people say Oprah or Beyonce.
I don't know. I think it has to. Yeah, it has to be Oprah. Maybe the three of them can come. Like Oprah, Beyonce, and Michelle Obama. They come. Viola Davis as well.
Do you think they're all in a WhatsApp group together?
You know what? I bet they are.
That would be a great WhatsApp group. And your favorite play or playwright of all time?
Oh, that's so hard. Oh man. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna say my favorite playwright of all time is someone I've actually worked with. I just think she's a genius. I'm gonna say Steph Smith.
Okay.
So she's a Scottish playwright. She writes these just exquisitely brutal, lyrical, almost poetic plays. I did a show of hers called Enough at the Edinburgh Fringe in 2019, and it was just such a joy to be in it. It was hard work, probably the biggest challenge I've had on stage. But yeah, so Steph Smith.
And then that leads me on to my final question, which is your greatest career moment to date. Was it starring in Enough?
It would be between Enough and I think the Lady Capulet at the Almeida.
Oh, excellent!
Because I just love. I mean, with Enough, it was being so honoured to play and like originate that role and play that part. And with this job, it's the fact that I'm at the Almeida, which is just everything I've seen there I've loved. And when I started out acting, it was really tough for me for the first couple of years. I did a lot of theatre and education shows, getting changed in like stationery cupboards and things like that. And so to be like, 20 years later, to be performing at the Almeida in this beautiful production, this is a career highlight.
That's the perfect note to end on. Thank you very much for your time today. I hope you get to enjoy some sunshine before you're back on stage later.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye, Sophia. Bye.